Hello and welcome to the next edition of Developing Cricketers here on the Performance Formula podcast. Just before I get into today's thing that I want to be chatting about as it pertains to developing cricketers, I just want to remind you that if you find any value from the podcast at any point in time, please feel free to click the like, subscribe, follow, whatever is relevant to the platform that you're on button. Get some more value in your life as I go, with some guests, and at times like this, me just chatting to myself about some things that I've learned. And in particular, in this series, in the cricket coaching space, I also have a weekly live that I do with a friend of mine, and in that we focus on mental performance. And so really these two things have been part of my life for a very, very long time. Mental performance, cricket, it's my fascination. It is what I enjoy doing. It's what I enjoy helping people with. And I love coaching it most of all. And so today's topic, or the thing I want to chat about today in this recording, is most probably a little bit of a blend of those two worlds. You know, we blend the idea of mental performance or our mindset with what we teach cricketers. And the reason I want to have this conversation or share this on the podcast quite early in the series, I've shared a little bit about my philosophy around coaching, is it is such a crucial ingredient to how a cricketer develops. And I'll give a very simple example, maybe to make the point. When I go to the nets and a new client arrives, some 6-year-old comes to the nets, and I say to them, hey, what do you want to do first? Let's go do some batting. Great. Off we go to the nets. And let's say I throw them about 10 balls. I throw the cricketer 10 balls. It's amazing the immediate reaction. At the age of 6, some cricketers will hit the ball quite a lot. Some will miss quite a lot. And some will be somewhere in between. But it's that immediate reaction to whatever has happened. And in particular, if they miss the ball quite a lot, it's the immediate reaction that, to me, changes the course of how a cricketer develops. So one cricketer I'll throw to, and let's say after those 10 balls, they would say something like, give me more, please. They might have missed everything. They might have hit one or two, but they say, give me more. Let's go again. There's an excitedness at the prospect of wanting to hit more balls. Another cricketer comes along and you throw them those 10 balls. They miss everything. Maybe they hit one or two, and they turn around and they look at you and they go, I suck at this. And just the immediacy of that first moment, that first interaction with the game, and their mind is already made up. There's so much they can learn. There's so much they can get better at. There's so much things they don't know yet as a 6-year-old. But it's been amazing to see that the cricketers who come along, that their immediate response is, I suck at this. They tend, and especially if it's a struggle to help them out of that or to sort of get their mind beyond that. Maybe it's being reinforced at home, maybe it's at school, there's other sort of things at play normally. But it's interesting to see how they then end up actually struggle to develop their cricket versus the one who's just willing to say, let's go again, let's go again, let's go again. I just want more of this. I just want more of this. It's okay if I don't get it right. It's okay. I just want more of this. And so really our initial mindset, our initial interaction with the game and sort of how we think about ourselves and the game, and those two things coming together plays a massive part in how a cricketer ends up developing. And I don't know if it's always paid attention to, right? Obviously I pay attention to it, but I don't know if we're aware of this, right? And so I want to encourage you to take note of that. So if you're a parent and as you're listening to this and your child is sort of starting this journey, or maybe they're on the journey and they're just struggling to get over one or two things, it's like, how are they seeing themselves and how are they seeing that thing and how are they making sense of that? Because very much if it's along the lines of, I suck at this, I'm not good at this, I should give up, I don't even know why I'm here. If it's along those lines, their development, their growth will not be great, and they will struggle to become better and evolve into cricketers that can actually play the game really well. With a cricketer who comes along and says, I'm here, I'm going to fail, I'm going to mess things up, it's not all going to be pretty all the time, but let's go again. that cricketer down the line develops into definitely a better cricketer. How good? That's anyone's guess, but definitely they're developing into a better and better cricketer. Now, there's this lady, Carol Dweck. She wrote a book about mindset, right? And essentially, the mindset I'm referring to here is a growth mindset. It's that ability to, as she talks about it in her book, it's that ability to take on feedback, to be good at sort of hearing feedback from somebody else, to hear where you've not successful yet or where you're not doing well yet, to be able to take that on board and then to be able to work with that information, to be able to listen to instruction. And initially, from a learning point of view, it's good to be able to match whatever the person that you're learning from. It's good to sort of match the information that comes. Okay, so they're asking me to do ABC. Let me do ABC, because then I can see what ABC brings. A lot of the time, cricketers want to just put their own spin on things straight away. The best learners can initially match the request, and then as time goes on, they put their own flair on it, their own twist, their own flavor, so to speak. I don't want to get into too much detail about the learning stuff today, right? We'll maybe spend a bit more time on that on another day. But it is this initial mindset, but it's this mindset of like, let me just go again. Like it's that idea of I ride my bicycle, I fall off, I get back on and I go again. Where if you don't get on straight away, next time you climb on the bike, at times it's a little bit of fearful, right? Am I going to fall again? Am I not? So to help our children grow, to help our cricketers grow, to really just encourage them or to pick up on these little subtleties where they may be shooting themselves in the foot, where they not optimizing their ability to learn or being in that sort of a growth mindset, like we've got to help them along and help them understand that that will always be better for them. So the second part of this, or the second element of this, right, is to think about, if we talk about the mindset that the cricketer needs and that we want to encourage. So yeah, I've now thrown some balls at the 6-year-old, but what does that now mean? What am I actually going to coach them? What approach? What is it that I'm actually going to go after as a coach that I want to make sure they understand about the game very early on? Now, years and years ago, I'm talking years and years ago, when I just started coaching cricket, this is more than close to 30 years now. 29 years that I've been involved in this game and sort of coaching it, making a lot of mistakes, messing up a lot, but also learning along the way, trying and failing, and also as a coach sort of seeing what works and what doesn't work. But years ago, let me not digress. I'm very good at digressing. Let me stay on track here. Years ago, it was okay to score 200 runs in a day in Test match cricket and maybe lose 3 to 4 to 5 wickets. That was okay. It was a good day. If you got to 200 runs, especially if you only lost like 3 wickets and you had 200 runs, and that was like, wow, what a good day. And so in the early days of coaching, I understood as a coach that we build a very good defensive game in our cricketers because it was okay in the game. It was okay to one day play international cricket and score at that sort of a rate. However, the game has evolved, right? The game is no longer the same. And so sure, the fundamentals, and I spoke about this before in one of the previous episodes, so feel free to go and listen to that. But the game, the fundamentals are similar. Balance, being able to coordinate certain movements. But the game is no longer, if you score 200 in a day playing a test match, I use test match cricket here because it is the longer form of the game. It is the part of the game where defense is still valued quite a lot and having a game that's figured out quite a lot. But even today, you've got to be able to score 300 at least, at a minimum, 350 to 400 in a day. We see that quite often, especially with things like Bazball floating around. And you see that English cricket team at this point in time, they score hundreds of 100 balls fairly regularly, even less than at times, And so the game isn't anymore a game of defense. It's not, unfortunately. As much as we wanted our old school, old-minded, back in the day kind of mindset, can make it very much about that. But the game is not that anymore. And if the game is not that now, where will the game be in 10 years' time? Where will it be if I'm coaching a 6-year-old cricketer now? What will have them good in 15 years' time when they're 21 and they want to break through and, they've got the skill and the ability? The game isn't going more and more defense. The game is going more and more attack. Balls that I would have thrown to kids 30 years ago and expected them to have to play a forward defense is no longer that. Balls that a bowler bowled and you knew that if you bowl it there, it will be a dot ball. It'll be defended. That's no longer the case. Those balls get hit over guys' head for 6. Players step inside out and scoop them over fine leg for 4 or 6, or depending on the pace, right? And so the game isn't anymore a game of defense. Not in batting, not in bowling, not in fielding. At no point in time is the game defensive. Even when defensive shots are chosen, as an example, or defensive lengths are bowled, the intent is still to score, or the intent is still to take a wicket. The intent is less and less about being patient and just sort of holding a line of length. If you're patient holding a line of length, you'll most good batters will hit you off that length nowadays. A variation, change up, trying different things, bringing an idea of surprise into the game down the line is more and more what will be needed, right? Having said that, bowlers can't, as an example, try and experiment with too many things when they're young, because there's the fundamentals. And so the ability to bowl a line and length is important. Because if you can't bowl the line and length, how are you going to bowl the ball anywhere else where you want to, right? And so we've got to understand that it's the mindset part of this conversation is that it's about attack, right? And so if I think of back to our 6-year-olds in the nets, for most probably, if I think of the best cricketers that I've coached over the last, let's say, 15 to 20 years, the three quick stories, right? The first one, I'm not going to mention their names, mere just for the sake I haven't got permission to sort of just talk about them and mention their names. The first one was a very good schoolboy cricketer. At the age of 13, couldn't hit the ball through the covers, which is rare at that age. However, had 50s, and I think at that time won maybe 200s behind his name. Started coaching him at the age of 12. By the time he was 14, he made the provincial under-15 team, which was quite a big thing to make it as a 14-year-old. He did that on the back of 100 and I think a 30 and 19 and a duck at the provincial trial week. And he bowled some. He took some wickets. I think he took maybe about 9 wickets. And so I think his all-round performance there got him into the team, even as a 14-year-old. The next year, as a 15-year-old, dominated the week. Got the national week. He was national under-15 player in South Africa at the CSA Awards. Scored 158 in the semi-final when his province was in dire straits. He was a naturally attacking player. Yet in that innings, as an example, he got his first 50 off 90 balls, because the team was something like 12 for 3 by the time he came in. Ended up getting 158 off 120 or 130 balls. I think he scored his second 50 off like 30 odd balls, and his last 50 came off 12. So there's this natural attack, right? There's this attacking mindset, but I can still, to go into defense from attack is much easier than it is to go from defense into attack. Go from attack to defense is easier than going from defense to attack. It's easier to stop the bat, as an example, on defense than it is to play a defensive shot and then feeling like you've got to hit it. It's easier to look to bowl an attacking line and length, and then you have to adjust into a defensive position with your length than feeling like, okay, I'm in a defensive and now I want to attack, right? That always, it just normally gets players into trouble. So this cricketer had the attacking mindset, right? Had the attacking mindset, and we could sort of build some technical things into him, like hitting through the covers, as an example, hitting over cover, which he ended up becoming really good at. He ended up playing, I think, SA Colts. He was his provincial under-19 captain. And then, yeah, life happened, right? But he was sort of there at the precipice of making the SA-9. The next cricketer I want to sort of maybe just chat about was started coaching him at the age of 6. And initially I was very technical in the sense of I wanted a certain bat swing. We were working a lot on positions and movement, hitting the ball. The cricketer was a little bit smaller, not so physically strong at that age. And so from an early age, learned a superpower of defending really well up front. And I think when he was under 13, he made the provincial under 13 team. Maybe it was the second day. His province was in a lot of trouble chasing a big score. And in those years, we still played. On the second day, I think they were chasing like 300 runs. And he went out, and I think he got like 65 not out, something like that, off 160 balls. And if I recall, the coach sort of gave the instruction that they've got to just close up shop, right? But he had that ability. And so his big challenge has been to attack. He's a professional cricketer now. He doesn't play T20 cricket. He tends to play first class cricket, so 4-day cricket and 50-over cricket. And he's not a bad batter at all, like by any stretch of the imagination. Opens the batting, and for a long period of time, he had a first class average over 50. But I can see that with those initial sort of, even though I encouraged him to hit the ball, even though that happened, even though I was sort of like really pushing him to be attacking, what ended up happening was because he was so technical in nature. Sorry, I'm drifting here completely. Because he was so technical in nature, and a little bit more defensive, and because he was small, he really struggled with his power game. So even though we taught him a nice bat swing, he didn't hit it as hard as some other kids. But the mindset was there, right? And so now when he started getting bigger and stronger and older, he can start expanding his game into that, right? A little bit more easier than if he was like really just defensive. So the mindset was always there, but his ability and his physical nature maybe didn't allow it when he was younger. The third one I want to just reference as, so as a coach, I evolved from, yes, this cricketer who was very attacking and I could almost just like mold him, to yes, a cricketer I could take from a young age and teach them how to play this game with a bit more of a technical focus. And it ended up in them being, also because of, like I said, how they were built and things like that. Small little boy at the age of 6, not a lot of power. I could see how that played out differently. And so the third cricketer I want to reference is, I coached them differently, right? I coached this cricketer to be very attacking from the get-go. I didn't care too much about technique. Yet, if you see them play now, technically they'll actually be pretty decent, right? Even the best players in the world have technical deficiencies. So, you're not going to create a technical masterpiece. So there's no point in doing that from the get-go. There's no point in trying to have this cricketer be like technically, like I actually laugh at myself when I think of how I used to coach that. It's more important to have the mindset, and then technique can evolve over time. So many cricketers at the age of 25 tour to India for the first time, and they've got to change their technique because, technically they're just not ready for the challenges and that surface and the spin, right? So they got to make technical adjustments. So technique is always evolving. But if we have the mindset in place, and I believe in the modern game, it's an attacking mindset. It's a mindset that looks to move the game forward. It's a mindset that looks to hit the ball. It's a mindset that looks to attack the stumps, that if the batter misses, you're hitting. It's a mindset that has maybe plans in place against certain batters to get them out, even though we're looking to restrict runs, right? It's to challenge players in a way from a bowling point of view that you put them under pressure to get them to make the mistake, right? So you're attacking either their strengths potentially or their weaknesses, and you're saying, all right, let's see if you got it today. And if you got it, great. You're coming with attack, we're coming with attack, and let's see who gets out on top. And it's really simple, right? It's really simple how it plays out at the back end is, as a coach, am I putting a cone down, outside off stump, back of a length, telling cricketers to hit that cone? Or am I playing games with them, telling them to hit the stumps? It's a simple little thing, right? But just that little flip says, I'm looking to hit the stumps, I'm attacking, versus now I'm bowling a line outside off stump, setting a little field, restricting the runs, drying up. And hey, there might be times that we use tactics like that, but it's born out of attack, not born out of defense, right? It's as simple as when a cricketer walks into the nets, I tell them to hit the ball as far as they can and let's put a smile on their face. And it doesn't really initially matter how much it looks right, but they get the joy of sending a ball into the distance. So their understanding is immediately that, you know what, when I'm playing this game, I'm looking to hit the ball. When I'm playing this game, I'm looking to get batters out. Sure, I might learn defense in that because attack gets us our runs, defense keeps us at the wicket. Attack gives us wicket in bowling, defense creates the pressure that lets batters make mistakes. So we need both. My sense is just attack comes first. Attack first, and then that can lead to defense down the line. I hope that you get something from this, right? I hope that as you listen to this sort of quick little chat from me around the initial stages and the mindsets that we need. And so to just remind you, it's the growth mindset, that ability to learn, that ability to walk into the net and say, let me try again, right? And this ability to make it about the game is about attack. It's not about defense. It's not about going backwards. It's about moving the game forward. And more cricketers of the future will need that. You know, I hope you get some value out of me sharing some of my stories a little bit and some of what I think we can do in that space. Please feel free to share this with anybody else. If you so happen to get some value out of it and you think that they can, maybe it's a fellow coach, maybe it's another parent, maybe it's a fellow cricketer that you think, a teammate that you think should, hey, here's something of value for you. Like and subscribe, as I've said, and I will catch you on the next one. Cheers.